Hey guys, welcome to another Ride and Struggle Bus where every wheel is an empty triangle. On today's Road Rage, we've got a fun co-fight for you. And I know what a lot of you guys are thinking right now. You're like, oh no, anything but a co-fight. But let me tell you, co-fights, they're really interesting. They're my favorite part of the game, and anybody who's watched me play any amount of games will understand my love for them. But regardless of whether or not I like them, they're a really important aspect of the game, and a lot of people struggle with co-fights. And when I played a recent game that had a fun co-fight in, I decided that I should probably showcase this on a Road Rage video. And so that is where we are today. Before I get into the game, I just have to mention that this one's a little sloppy. This is certainly not my best game. I really hope it's not my opponent's best game. So you're gonna question a lot of the decisions that were made in this game, especially if you're a stronger player. So I just wanted to get that out of the way before we get into the meat of this review, which will be the co-fight itself. So before we do that, let's see how we got to this board position, just so you can understand the flow of the game a little bit, and then we'll get into the details of this fight. So in this game, I was white. My opponent started with a pretty unorthodox double 5-4 opening, which I most assuredly have no idea what to do with other than just, play around it the best I can. He approached, I backed off. I tanuki'd after he slid in, and just decided to play the 3-4 he attached outside. I haned, extended, and then went and claimed the corner. Is this a good result for white? I have no idea. It seems reasonable, though. Black gets a good outside, we get a good corner. I decide to extend the top. He approaches, we kick, we pincer. He jumps in immediately. We decide to take the outside. I could have played, obviously could have played this. This is probably a cleaner response than what I did, but I didn't want to give him this for free. And so I decided to take this exchange first and then block and take this shape. I don't think he should have pushed. Typically, if you're doing this, it's because you want to cut immediately. But so regardless, he did that. We made some good shape outside. He shoulder hit. We block here. And then I decided to cut on the inside so that I could get the outside, right? So by playing this, we threatened to kill his G18 stone. He Ataris, but then we get to Atari and go outside, which separates his groups, which is really important, right? We want to leave weak groups for our opponent so we can potentially push them around later. He plays this to get life, and I decide to kill this stone. I don't know if this is the greatest move. I wanted to get the some pressure in the middle. I wanted to keep his group separated, but I'm not so sure it was worth just taking this cut. It's really what it came down to. We pushed through, and I decided to kill these 3 stones. Was that worth it? I also don't know. But again, I wanted to be able to keep some options open in the center, which becomes relevant later in the game. We make this push. This seems small. Like I said, there are some suspect moves in this game. We immediately take this cut and then decide we'll deal with that later. We go approach here and play a different variation. Here, I was fine with switching into the center. If he wanted to play this and go and capture the 2 stones, I was fine getting this Panuki and going here. But, is this a good exchange? Hard to say. I think I would have been happy with it, which is why I decided to do the double Hane. He pushed, and we cut, and then took the Hane here to threaten these 2 stones. And he Hanes, we go to get life. He Ataris, we Atari, and he goes and captures. I decide that since we took this cut, might as well push and keep this group a little bit weaker. He makes this move. We push here. Honestly, I forget the reason behind this. This just seems really, really small on this board, and I really should be looking at something like D10. But that's not the move we made. Again, I make mistakes too. And so we play here, and he plays the big move. And so I feel like Black's well ahead here. And, I think it really was just playing P2 was just a bad move. And, but it does set this up, and we have some, we do have some interesting exchanges here where I get these outside forcing moves and then, get some shape to try to break into the center. Here I'm obviously going after these stones. And predictably he goes in and cuts. But we're able to do this, which threatens to kill this group. But he can easily take these 2 stones, but I'm okay with that because it lets us live on the outside. So this felt like a great success for me. But it comes in Gote, right? And so black continues to surround. We go and threaten to kill the corner, and then we play this move, which seems small. And now again, like I do not feel like I'm winning this game. Black plays in the center, and so I decide let's go break into the side, and this is where things start getting a little interesting for the game. So I'm just pushing in. We're making these exchanges which aren't too relevant, but then I decide to push through, take this Atari, push, and then go to cut here. Our opponent catches us here. So this is a mistake. I admittedly had not done good reading here. And when he plays this, we just push, but now he gets this cut, which starts the cascade of Ataris and cuts and throw-ins. So we Atari, he Ataris, and we capture, and he Ataris here. Now, we can't just connect because then this happens. And if we capture, that's just a snapback, right? So we can't play that. So we have to start the ko, and then he throws it in. I choose not to capture. I choose to connect. And the reason, it's small, it's subtle, but it's, there's a method to it. If I capture here and he starts the ko, and let's just say we play this as our ko threat. If he decides to ignore that to capture, and then we capture, and then he gets to capture here, he gets one more stone because we had played a stone on the inside, and he now has a follow-up with the Atari here. Instead, if we connect, which is what we did in game, he starts the ko, and we play a ko threat, and he ignores. When he captures, and we capture, and he captures here, he captured one less stone, and there's no follow-up. Not a big deal, but I just wanted to go over why I played on the outside here as opposed to capturing the stone. So either way, the ko is started, and this is where the video started, was with this board state. So we're in a ko fight. And when you get into a ko fight, I go over this in my ko fighting video, which I'll link in the description of this video. It's important to understand what you're actually fighting over. So in this case, just looking at the surface level, it's pretty easy to see that, we're fighting over white's 8 stones here rather. If black wins this ko, he gets these 8 stones. But what does white get if he wins this ko? Because interestingly, it's not just saving these stones. And so to show that, when we play this first ko threat, which we'll come back to when black answers, and we play here, if we're able to ignore whatever ko threat black does, which in this case we really can't, we actually get this nice Atari here. And then what happens is, if black captures, it doesn't matter. We're out and we're fine, and his stones are dead. And so if he connects here, then we get this Atari, and he has to save these stones, and then we get this Atari. So all of a sudden, it's not just saving these stones, it's saving these stones and capturing these 6 stones, and potentially to capturing this group. So there's actually quite a lot involved with this ko fight over over what we're fighting. So it's really important to understand exactly what you're fighting over, because your ko threats need to be to the same scale as the fight that you're going over. We can't just be going after 1 or 2 stones when we're fighting over something like 35 points. So anyway, so it's our turn to find a ko threat, and we decide to play here, which threatens to kill this entire group. So black obviously answers. And so now we retake the ko, and it's black's turn to find a ko threat. And he does a good job of finding a nice local ko threat that also threatens to kill this entire corner. So we really don't have any choice. We have to play this. And then black retakes. And at this point in the game, I was getting a little nervous because I was having trouble actually finding a good ko threat in this board, because we have Q4, but that's really not enough. It's really not enough compared to what we lose here. And with that said, the move that I settled on, I'm still not sure of. But where I ended up playing was H3. And now what this does is, if black ignores, we get to Atari these 4 stones. And if black comes out, we get to push. And then we get to push. And then we can play something like this, which kills these 2 stones. Is this big enough? Hard to say. Probably not. But it's not terrible. It's big. It's pretty big. Yes, we lost a lot here, but black loses a ton here as well. So this may have been a valid ko threat, but I don't think so. I think black probably should have taken here, but black did not. Black did answer the co-threat, and so we retake, and now black played S3, which is very much a co-threat, but is it big enough? That's the question. So if we do answer this, white's going to get at least 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 points, give or take. If we ignore and take the ko, and black answers here, instead of us getting 12 points, black's going to get 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 points, maybe 16. So this is like a 20, like a 28-point co-threat, which is big, but I don't think it's as big as the ko. And so I actually did end up ignoring this co-threat. I instead did play this cut, and black fixes, and then we do take this Atari as well. Black extends, and we play here. Now, if black retakes the ko, we just capture. And that's easy, and we're alive, and this is obviously a success. Black played here, but now we can play here and capture these stones, which I think is bigger. And so that is what we ended up doing. And the reason I think it's bigger is when we play here, it's easier to break into the center a little bit more. As we're here, black has some stones, and so it'll be tougher to break through. So I do play here, and black makes a big mistake. Black takes the ko, but we can just capture, which is what we did. And then black plays here. We now retake this ko, and black finally takes this. I do think it was probably worth giving this up and taking this, but it's hard to tell exactly which is better. So we did take this. Black claims his prize. We take this Atari, which is kind of not the best move, and black captures, and then we capture the ko. And at this point in time, obviously, this fight is over now. And I think the game is over now. White is in a very strong position here. Black was winning before this ko fight, but now white feels fairly comfortable on this board. And so that's what can happen with ko fights. And I think they're really interesting. I think this fight was really interesting. So I hope that you guys learned, a thing or two. Again, the intent of these videos is just to go over how I see fights and the things that I think about in these fights. They're not always going to be right. I still make plenty of mistakes, but it still can showcase what a stronger single digit Q player thinks about when they fight. And ko fights are an area that I know a lot of people struggle with. And so it's important to just be able to slow down, understand what's important in a ko fight, and go and make your proper threats and go and win those fights. And anyway, they're so much fun. You guys really do need to enjoy them more. So anyway, I do hope you guys enjoyed my explanation of this ko fight in this Road Rage video. Either way, thank you guys for coming out for another Ride and Struggle Bus where every wheel is an empty triangle. Have a good one, guys.